I'm at the Red House with Hannah Gaskins Pabon, and thank you, by the way, for coming over here into the woods.
Of course, yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, so given that you and I don't know each other too well, let's
Yeah.
go ahead and just start with a bit of a biography of who you are. Tell me where you're from and how you ended up here and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm originally from New York, but I moved here when I was pretty young, and I live in Winston pretty much my whole childhood. I went to college at UNC Wilmington, where I studied a lot of different things, but then ended up in the visual arts. And then after I graduated, I came back to Winston, more in the Ardmore area, which has been nice because it's big arts community, like a lot of artists there. So I've been working there as an artist and as a preschool teacher. Yeah, that's my life now.
I hear that, yeah. I've been finding myself hanging out in Ardmore a lot these days, and
Yeah.
indeed, like it's different. It's a real neighborhood, and it's kind of attractive, and it's like a lot of younger people mixed in with other demographics.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of like good families, small families. Everything's pretty there too, especially in like Halloween time. I feel like you're in Hocus Pocus or something.
That's really, really true.
Yeah.
Like they do it up.
They do it up.
Yeah. How old were you when you said you left New York?
I mean, I was young. I was like 8. But we go like every summer because my grandma lives there.
Okay. You feel connected to New York?
Yeah, I feel connected to New York, which is nice because it's awesome to have like family over there because the city is always a good opportunity. I mean, not for me, really, I guess, but it feels nice to be like, I could go there and see arts one day. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is nice. I love New Yorkers. So sometimes I miss that.
Why you love New Yorkers?
People say they're very mean, but and they are. So is everybody. They're just blunt, and I think I love like their honest, like being. They're just really honestly being, and they can be really, really nice and friendly. And like since it is honest, it feels very genuine all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's a real romance about New York.
Yeah.
Like a real spirit to it, and it's a unique place, and one that I've gotten to spend a little bitty bit amount of time in.
Yeah.
That, I've got to witness what it feels like, and it's so different, and it's so vast and big, and like, and some of my a lot of my favorite like comedians and musicians and stuff are from New York. Mm-hmm. I guess since you left it at a young age, I mean, like, do you get to try to experience it ever as an artist when you are up there? Do you ever look at it through that lens?
Not particularly. I'll go if I do go to the city. I haven't been in a while because I've heard that it hasn't been a safe of a place. But I'll make sure to go to like all the museums or galleries and stuff. But as an artist myself, I feel like I haven't really approached the city in that way. It would be interesting to do. I have thought about the idea of moving up north or moving to a big city, and who knows, like I have no idea what I'm going to do. But I was reminded that like sometimes in those big cities, you can just get swallowed by everyone trying to be everything. So I like being here and feeling like I can make a name for myself here and like branch out other places, feeling like confident in myself as an artist, in a smaller community. And it's not even that small of a community here, it's an okay size.
Yeah. It's like larger than a teeny tiny town. But
Yeah.
It's a small city though for a city.
It could, yes.
Yeah. So, well, before I ask you that, I was gonna let's talk about your. So have you lived here? Like you said, you've grown up here and stuff, but have you pretty much lived here consistently your whole life?
Yeah, pretty much, except for college.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So, so what do you think it was like? Did you go to Wilmington with any artistic experience or interest leading into it?
Yeah, so I went to, well, in high school, I was super theater kid, did all the shows, all the musicals, whatnot. And so I was really thinking that I wanted to continue in that path because I did love it. And so Wilmington was like Wilmy Wood at the time and doing all these films and stuff. I was like, well, it'll be cool to be there and like see that happening. But then the year that I, of course, go to college, it was shut down completely. So it's fine. That didn't work out. But I mean, I don't think it was supposed to. So I went in with the idea of following that path. And after that, I could just I stopped doing all of that. And I went towards, I thought I was going to be like a therapist. So I went into psychology and like also education. So all these different things. But I didn't find as much joy in them as I found because I would take some like visual arts class just because you could take electives. And I was like, well, I've done that. I did that in high school. I felt like I wasn't really like that good in high school or anything. I just did them. So I was just continuing the path of doing it. And but then I just left everything else behind and kept doing that.
So you did psychology, education, and art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right now I actually do have a minor in psychology.
Interesting.
I don't use it for anything, but it was honestly it fed into what I do now. So like I have no regrets in taking those classes. I think they were so interesting. I think all the I think everyone should take those sort of classes. And at the time I had wanted to be a therapist because I wanted to like help people find I did therapy when I was really young, and it helped me kind of like come out of this really shy shell where I was just like a yes person and everything. And I remember my therapist making a huge impact in my life. She like empowered me. So I knew that I wanted to help empower people and help them find their voice. And I think a therapist takes a really certain person, and I realized that I was not that person. But at the same time, I saw an avenue where my art could meet with that. I could create an art form that was empowering to subject matter, empowering for people who look at it, or, I just said earlier that I'm not very good with words, so I think the visual arts can help people too who aren't good in words just kind of feel visually and emotionally. So I think it all bled into each other. It worked out.
Yeah, when you said what you're doing now, I was thinking about education. That's what I thought you were referring to, but
no. I am a teacher too, so the education worked. I would say more so because I took child psychology. I would say that worked more with my where I'm at, because I work in a Reggio Emilia school, and so it's like pre-K, and it's based in this it's a Reggio Emilia philosophy where
I don't know what that is.
It's this whole philosophy built around the idea that a child can be in charge of their education, and so you are working and learning alongside the child and giving them resources to build upon their ideas. So it's really awesome because you're teaching children to pretty much love learning. If they're in charge of their learning, they use different resources, they create different ideas that might seem crazy, but it's their mind working. And at that age, they don't need all the correct answers to things. They just need to have their mind rolling and working all the time. And so it's been really beautiful to watch how that philosophy the works,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole big thing. I didn't do a very good job describing it.
Well, you made it make sense to me.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's awesome. I do love it there. And it's nice too because we're very it's a very arts-based school because you're giving them supplies like oil pastels and watercolors, and we'll work with clay, and they're just finding out what these materials do, doing what they want with these materials. So it's interesting. It's really interesting to see what they create all the time.
Yeah, and I mean that's like the main complaint I guess I hear about the school system often is how, I mean, just how unrealistic. Like I think it's true, probably true. I don't know that it seems to train people from a very young age for like corporate life, and that it's like unrealistic to ask kids to sit still for like 6 hours at a time. They get like one break to express all their energy and stuff. But then like for the majority of the time they're asked to just like sit forward, pay attention to talking at like all throughout young ages where they could care less about that,
Yeah, I think it's really sad how the public school is right now. I think because in our school we like I try to get them to sit for like a morning meeting, but then it's gonna be like 5 to 10-ish minutes. And at the age, because they're 4 and 5 in my classroom, I can't expect them to do more. Like, I get it. Like, I also want to go, like, we have these very cool lights in our room, so they'll go play with the lights or play with the clay. So and we're teaching them not to wonder things and just like do what they're told, believe what they're told. And I think as you become an adult, all of a sudden you're supposed to start making your own decisions and questioning things, and you're like, oh my God, like what? And so we're teaching the kids to like go ahead and like it's okay to have like different opinions from your best friend or something. And like these opinions are just like they're like 4-year-old, 5-year-old opinions, But it's cool. Is you're helping them become very independent.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. It's based in, now that I'm on this spot, I want to say it's Italy. It's a town in Italy. And, like, the whole community builds upon it. Like, they will take the kids to, like, the center of the town. And, like, people are shopping for food there, talking with the kids. And I've seen a lot of things on it, and it's incredible. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can definitely see how like your experience with child psychology could feed right into being very in the right position to be doing that.
Well, and then that like we're so into like social and emotional development. So like this like the psychology behind things and like helping kids are like if they're hitting, usually like sometimes it's not just like oh they're hitting, they're just being like a bad kid, like usually there's a reason behind it, something's going on, and you can see like, oh, this happened because of this, and so you like help the kid work through, okay, next time instead of responding in this way, what are some other ways we can respond? And then they come up with other ways, and then the next time you'd be like, okay, remember you had these ways that you're gonna respond.
Definitely.
So there's a lot going on in those little minds.
I bet.
Yeah.
What when you were saying that you thought that everyone could benefit from being exposed to psychology classes, what makes you say that? I guess what about the experience of that part of your education really spoke to you, and you thought was it like worthwhile? Like you wish more people were in touch with it?
For a couple different reasons. I think it's like for adult psychology, it helps you see that there is so much going on with each individual person. I think we get so stuck in our own heads of our own lives, and it like helps open the door of like the beyond like what we physically see and what's going on mentally, and that a lot of people, I mean, psychology is it can involve disorders or not involve. Like it's a whole big world, but it also helps to see all sorts of like psychological disorders and how that's like it's more like more people have things than you would think. And so I think it helps give you a perspective to not assume things of people right away, because you have no idea what's going on, what they're going through. And I think you can have your own experiences of figuring that out, but I think psychology helped me like see that. And then I did take the child psychology, and I was like, honestly, I thought like anyone who ever wants to become a parent, that would be really good to take, because you could see from an infant to like 5 years old, there is an incredible amount of learning and soaking in at that point that I thought that was really important too.
Yeah. No kidding. It makes me very curious. Like I've never been exposed to what you're talking about, like really an in-depth understanding of how we function at these ages and stuff. And I see what you mean. Yeah, there's like every especially an infant, like every month is a huge stride. And then as I get older each year, like as my kids go from 4 to 5, it is a huge difference. So I think it helps. I mean, if you're working in the education field, it helps. But then if you're like a parent, I think it's nice to understand how what you're doing might affect the kids. It's just a good mindful experience to take all those psych classes. Yeah. So, given these 3 fields that you like did in school and stuff, what do you see yourself like staying in education, or do you see yourself pursuing art more singularly? I love where I'm at currently, but I do feel my calling more towards my arts. It's nice to have like a steady job, since you never know how a year in the art field will go. But that is where my passion is, and it takes a lot of time and effort, which is why it's nice that I only have a part-time job, because if I had a full-time job, I don't think I'd be able to create like I'm creating. And even so now is like, there's just still not enough time. So I think in the future I'll have to cross paths with letting go of education and following the arts, which I'm fine. Like, I think that'll come in the right time. Yeah. All right. So let's talk a minute about this idea of empowerment. That sounded interesting to me. So I guess how do you go about pursuing that as a part of your visual art? How do you put it in there? So my art has a lot of like empowering subject matter. I would say that my art is very, especially right now, a very like feminist art. So a lot of female empowerment, particularly in the like exhibition I have going on right now. The imagery just, I guess it's hard to describe without like the images, but you'll see a lot of like strong female characters, whether they're like made up or in history. Like I'll paint Frida Kahlo a lot because I find her empowering as a female Latina artist. So I'm looking at empowering females of our past and present and trying to combine it and display it in my art. I will not only do the female empowerment, but I'm really like, it's hard to like put yourself in a box. But anything going on in the world, like socially or everything. I mean, everything is a social thing that affects me, like hits my emotional strings. I will bring that to my art and try to like, I'm not sure how to describe it, but just try to display that to start creating like these
to bring light and power to the subject matter. So for example, like there were all those forest fires in 2020. Well, I mean, there have been a lot after, but specifically in this time, it was in California. I think that's the one that I took the image from. But that was, I mean, devastating to see all those images. There was like a vast amount of images online. And I saw one picture where the sky was like this orange and red color, this orange and red hue. And so I used that to make this one piece to put power behind the idea of the destruction going on. Like not power behind that, but like to show it, to display it, and to be like, this is, like, this is the problem. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure, like, it's not all like empowering per se, but I try to bring power and light to things that might be uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, sense. It does.
Yeah,
it does.
Okay.
What I'm hearing is, like, when you were talking about that, the fire, like, that almost sounds like the subject of a victim or something. Mm-hmm. And the idea of a victim is like the opposite of power.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah. So like the earth is the victim in this. And like, yeah, a lot of my, like, so if it's uncomfortable, I don't know if it's uncomfortable. I don't think it's uncomfortable, but people might think it's uncomfortable. Those images usually have to do with some sort of victimhood. Like, I started this sort of painting process, painting themes, whatever you want to say, my last year of college, because then you're the whole time that you're working in the arts in college, or at my school, they were kind of like, okay, these are the stipulations to what the project is this time, blah, 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 keep going. But then your final semester, like, okay, you can do whatever you want. And it took me like half the semester to be like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know what to do. You can't just drop me into the water. And so I started seeing, I was working in like a sexual assault awareness office. And so I was inspired by that, and I had like my own personal story at that time that I was like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. And so I took that to make these a few pieces. Pretty much 2 came out of that like I still have. And so it was that whole idea of like victimhood and like bringing power to the subject matter that people don't talk about or don't like to talk about, because we should talk about it, So yeah, I like how you said the victim, because it's either empowering images of women or maybe a little bit uncomfortable pictures that have to do with, like that.
Yeah.
The victim. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like, I mean, that's like used in negative space, I guess, or something. Like, it's when you use the opposite of power. Mm-hmm. It seems like you're showing the absence of power, or where power, you would expect power to be, or different things. But it's sounds like you play a lot with power dynamics or something like that.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Well, that's fun.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that went all over.
No, it's good. That's what we're here to talk about. That's good. And I've looked at your stuff, and so it's got this real. What I've seen of it is a lot of realism, a lot of just like, I don't know. What I saw some stuff that almost looked like the iconic heaven images you see or whatever of I don't know what period, maybe Renaissance.
Yeah,
stuff.
Lately I've had some Renaissance. Yeah.
With like almost cloudy atmospheres, and then like these characters almost erupting from bright light or something. Very interesting stuff, which I guess that was what I was going to ask, like if these things are of a particular sort of tradition.
Yes and no. Lately I've been doing the Renaissance idea, but before that I would say more surrealism. And yeah, I would say surrealism to Renaissance. And I like to play with both. I did enjoy painting these, I would say just 2 Renaissance pieces lately. so I love art history, and so diving into each different realm is awesome. And I started with Renaissance recently, because in Renaissance it's very whitewashed. That's what they painted at the time, and it was just the culture, I guess. And so we're missing all these paintings, of people of color, because it was so whitewashed. So I wanted to take a very classic Renaissance piece, which was the Birth of Venus, and put this. I can't take a full. I will say that I was inspired by this one Instagrammer. I asked her permission to. She was amazing. She's called Moon and Cheese, and she has such beautiful pictures of motherhood. And during that time that I made that piece, it was her breastfeeding journey. And so to see this incredibly strong Black mom with these 2 babies, I was just in awe of her. And so I asked permission to paint the piece of her as Venus in the Birth of Venus. Because it's a very, if you look it up, Birth of Venus is a beautiful painting, and the woman in the middle is a white woman with blonde hair. And so I was just playing with it, and changed it, and to make it current and of the times, of the power behind. I named this piece Immortal Love, because Venus is supposed to be the goddess of love, and so to bring a mother, I thought that just kind of matched in. And to kind of change these old paintings, which are beautiful, beautiful paintings, but playing with them to make them more contemporary of that, all people of color are beautiful, and should be painted. So that's why I started with the Renaissance. And after that, I fell in love with the Renaissance style, because it's incredible. I mean, it's so detailed. Their fabric work, sculptures in the Renaissance, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. But so I've been playing with that some more, and I'll probably continue doing that too. But I do love I love painting surrealist images as well.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that actually, specifically lately, that style of sculpt. And unless I'm not in a big city, obviously, and I'm not really aware of what goes on in that world, but I only ever see contemporary approaches to sculpture, or I do see some native, more native traditional things being practiced, but realistic sculpting, I don't see as much of in the classical world of art. I see some of it maybe in the use of wood, but again, that tends to be a different tradition. Are you aware of any sculpting that goes on of that sort these days?
Honestly, not really. I'm not in the sculpting world. I tried to be in the sculpting world, and that's not my gift.
No.
But I enjoy it. I enjoy looking at all of it, contemporary or or not. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I can't tell you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, we'll find some. If you find any, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm looking for them.
For sure.
Yeah, I hear you though. So the identity. It sounds like identity is a subject that you deal with some, and you also mentioned Frida, and you mentioned being Latina and stuff. I guess what role does that play? And I guess another way to ask that question is, I've asked a few artists, are you interested at all in kind of, is your heritage Puerto Rican? Is that what I saw? Yeah. Are you interested at all in working any Puerto Rican traditions into what you do?
Yeah. So I'm half Puerto Rican, from my mom's side, which is the Pabon. And for sure, I would like to start creating subject matter along that line, because that's something I don't really see a lot of either. So, which I think there should be, obviously. And so, But since that is my background, I feel called that I need to start making work to reflect some of like a Puerto Rican style or subject matter. There's so many stories. I mean, you could do anything. And my grandpa was a musician, and so I'll probably start along those lines because it kind of runs back, like for me personally, runs back into, you know, my grandpa and who he was as a person and who he was as his own artist. And so, like, for me, that's where my line of art, like, it goes down that pathway.
Let's talk a little about that.
Yeah.
What did he do?
So my grandpa was a musician. His band was called Tony Pabon y La Protesta, and he made a lot of music. He was in the Bronx, and they were pretty popular. He he founded like Boogaloo, and so which is just, yeah, it was just, I think, very popular up north. He came from Puerto Rico, came to the Bronx. He has a super interesting life story. My mom is a writer, and she one day will hopefully write his story because it's incredible. He started out in a gang, and he was just doing all these things that he should not have been doing. And one day everyone got arrested. And this is a story he tells, so I can't tell you if it's real or not. Well, he passed, so this is a story he used to tell, that he there were cops everywhere or whatever, and he swam across this big lake or something. So he was like the only person who didn't get arrested. And so then he was like, okay, like, time to change everything about my life. And so I think he went to like a pawn shop or something, and there was a trumpet there. So he picked up playing trumpet. Yeah, I feel so bad if I'm telling this story wrong because my family will know I'm telling it wrong. But this is it for me. So he started playing trumpet, and yeah, he started forming a band. And so he's mostly a trumpet player, but he'd make a lot of the music, and he'd sing some songs if he was not happy with the singer or something. He's like, no, it has to be like this. I mean, he was a singer too, but his passion was the trumpet. Yeah, but he's got a lot of music out there, and it's awesome. It's awesome coming from that. I mean, that was always a big deal for us because, like, not everybody knew him, but like I feel like in the Bronx or like, you know, the Puerto Rican families would kind of, you know, know him. Yeah, so it was awesome. It was awesome. And then after that, when he was done with his music, he became a pastor. So he like started he ended on so many different spectrums of what his life journey was. But yeah.
I love those stories.
Yeah.
My grandmother's from Cuba.
Oh yeah.
My mom's half Cuban.
Okay.
So I'm quarter. And,
yeah.
I love any Latin cultural whatever, like hit American dream stories, and one way that stands out to me in particular is one of my favorite Cuban comedians, Joey Diaz. He grew up in the Bronx, and I swear to God, I'll bet he ended up. I bet those two dudes crossed paths.
Oh really?
At some point.
Probably. Yeah.
I bet they did.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that too. There's a lot of people that come from the Bronx. They, you know Cardi B now. Well, she sampled one of my grandpa's songs. You know her song "I Like It"?
I don't.
Well,
I might.
It was a song. It was a song of the summer, and like a few years back, it was him. He sings in the front too. And
really?
Yeah. I don't know. I know my grandma is probably living very wealthy now, but my grandpa was always the one like, "Here, money, you know," and she's not like that. Nobody knows what she's gotten from that, but it has to be. I mean, she has to be fine.
Man, that is so cool.
It was really cool. I mean, it was awesome because he had passed before that. So like I turn on the radio and like his song starts with him laughing, and it's such a loud laugh. It's such his laugh. And so like you turn on the radio sometimes and it would come on and it starts with him laughing and then kind of singing in, and then, you know, she adds in, but man, it was really awesome.
That has got to be a crazy thing for you.
It was crazy. It was awesome. Yeah, it was just nice.
That's awesome. I love that. I really
Yeah.
love that. So the Puerto Rican thing. So like, did he come from Puerto Rico to New York?
Him and my grandma, they were both from Puerto Rico, and they both moved to New York, not together, but then they met in New York. And then my mom was born in New York, and then so was I. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does your family? Do you ever care about going to Puerto Rico and doing stuff like that? Do you ever go?
Yeah, I was always upset because my grandma would take my cousins or like my siblings. She would always take them, and then when I was born, she stopped doing that because she has an apartment there. So she stopped doing that, and so finally she said that when I graduated college, that would be my gift. So I went when I graduated college, and it was amazing. It was so hot. I have never, I feel like my blood was like pushing out of it was incredibly hot, but it was still an awesome experience. It's beautiful there. The trees are beautiful. She sold that apartment this year though, so I'm not sure how much I'll get to go again, but I'm sure in the future.
Yeah, that's what I envy. Like, I wish that we had that kind of relationship with Cuba, and
Yeah.
and I guess we kind of like used to in a way. We didn't really ever own Cuba in the same way, but we have dominion over, or however you might say that. We didn't try to flex on them in the same way. There was this other kind of weird dependent relationship that we had with Cuba, but that sort of got fucked with early on in the 20th century. But
Yeah.
anywho, when my grandmother started having kids, she could travel back and forth easily, and her parents could travel back and forth easily. But when stuff changed over there, then all that went out the window.
Yeah, that sucks because it is nice to, especially when family comes from there. It's cool to see where everything comes from.
Yeah, I want to go. I don't know. I actually don't know at this moment if it's still the case that Americans can go to Cuba.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know if that changed, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I mean, now would be a horrible time to go because they've been
Yeah.
not dealing with the COVID stuff or the communism stuff very well.
Yeah. Well, that in Puerto Rico, they just they get hit a lot with all the natural weather. So I don't even know if they're because I think the latest one was the Ian or something hit them pretty hard too. Because we still have we have family like great aunts or something. You know, we have lots of people there, but yeah, they have a hard time with that.
Yeah. This year more than ever, I've been diving into true traditional Cuban art forms and stuff, and the symbolism within it. And I've learned a little bit, and it's really rich, and it's really cool and dark and African, and got some cool stuff to it. I don't know much about Puerto Rican stuff. Can you is there anything you can tell me off the bat?
I don't know that I've really taken a dive into art forms there. But there's definitely some there's a lot of different heritage that came there. So you were mentioning, in Cuba, but yeah, you'll have I don't know, pretty much everything. You can have all sorts of things in your blood, because people just came from everywhere. But now as far as the art form, yeah, I'm not exactly sure for visual arts. I'll have to dive into that. Which is what I'm planning on doing. There's a lot of artwork. I forget his name, but there's an image that is around a lot of. I forget his name, but he was very big for Puerto Ricans because he was a man who would protest certain things and lead them in these protests. So you'll see a lot of Puerto Rican artwork is of him. It's just him. And my grandpa, I think he has a song about him too, which is why they like Tony Pabon y la protesta, because the protest. Which I like too, because I like to think that in a way my art form is a protest. So I feel a connection there with my grandpa.
Oh yeah.
Which is not like the rest of my family. It was just my grandpa. My mom, yeah, but my grandma is not like that. So it's an interesting connection to him, I think.
That is cool. I love that.
Yeah. I do too. Yeah, I like that connection. But yeah, so that's like where I'm gonna be journeying. Well, I can't say next. Like, this is what happens, is that I have like all these ideas, and then like what comes first, I don't know.
I know.
But I for sure want to dive into my heritage and displaying that. Yeah.
I'm the same way. It's just like and it's infuriating. It's almost like sabotaging myself. Like when I try to work up the discipline and fortitude to focus on one thing, all of a sudden I get like 40 really good ideas.
Yep.
And it's like my brain is keeping me from being too much in one place. And it's just like, it's super inconvenient sometimes.
It is, especially when you're like painting and it takes a long time. And so you're like, oh man, I really gotta stick with one idea.
I've heard that about painters too.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It always works out fine.
Sorta.
Yeah, not really, but it'll be fine.
I'm trying to explore now, driving like fast, like pedal to the metal into that, to see if that makes me more productive. Like for a while I've been trying to plot my brain to be like, I'm going to plan my next creative moves to try to focus them on what matters. But I'm thinking about just switching that and being like, you know what, I'll just try 15 things at once and see if I can do 15 things at once.
Yeah, I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
It might be how you work.
It might be.
Yeah, because I know artists have five different canvases set up, and like as one's drawing, mentally or physically drawing, you keep working, which could work. I could do that if I had more space, but right now I can't do that way of living.
Yeah. Oh shoot, what was I going? So Frida. What's your relationship with Frida?
Yeah, so I feel like Frida, I love Frida, and I feel like a lot of female artists do. I feel like everyone. I feel like everybody just loves Frida. No, but I feel like she's a very popular image. But I think rightfully so. I think that she had such a hard life. It's so interesting to like see all the struggles she went through, and she like painted those struggles, and she painted all sorts of amazing images, and it's painful to see her images when you think about her story and how she was like, she got in like this car accident, she was physically in pain, she was in an abusive relationship. So yeah, I love how honest she is with her painting and how she always worked. And also that she is like a female art, especially in that time period, a female artist who really paved a way. Because at that time, I mean, there were female artists, but they're not as popular as all the male artists. So yeah, I feel like she really paved a way for female artists, and especially like Latina artists. Now she's of the Mexican descent, but I still, the Latina culture. Yeah, so I will paint her all the time. I have this thing with myself that if a Frida sells, like, because I paint Frida and I try to sell all my paintings, obviously. Well, some people don't, so that's not obvious. But when a Frida sells, I have to paint another one. So
you always like to have her in circulation.
Yeah, she's very popular in this town.
Yeah,
which I love.
Frida, is probably for a lot of people. I mean, yeah, I don't know how she became one of those artists that's like she's as recognizable, physically more recognizable probably than Picasso or it's like she's in the world of recognizable art.
Yeah.
But because she did so many self-portraits and stuff, and she made herself her own subject so often, maybe that adds to it a lot.
Yeah, I think so. I think at a time, like, I almost felt like it was cliche to like Frida Kahlo, because she was so recognizable. Everybody knows her. Everybody's doing her. Everybody's like, dressing up as, But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the self-portrait thing. She made herself known.
Yeah.
It's like, here I am.
It's great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. Whoever appreciates her, I love it. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Trying to think. I mean, who else? Do you have any other artists? It sounds like she might really mean a lot to you, which makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other artists that are particularly inspirational to you?
Yeah, so there's an artist. I want to say it's about the same time. Like there's a body of female artists that were all in the 1900s. Hannah Hawk. I looked at her early in college, and she like is a collage artist. So she would merge like different pictures together. I like, you've seen collage.
Mm-hmm. I do a little bit of collage sometimes.
So I loved her work, and I feel like I started my surrealist stuff based off of her work, because I would just take images like myself and then just cut them and merge them together, but then I'd paint them. So like it's a surrealist vibe painting, but it was all based on the Hannah Hawk collage ideas. And then Mary Cassatt is a classic for me. She was an impressionist artist who paints mother and child images. And that, I don't know really who else was doing that at the time, because people weren't really painting that, especially like in their natural element, like, like bathing the child in a sailboat or something. And so those are really beautiful paintings as well. She does pastel too. I just forgot everybody else. But yeah, Hannah Hawk. There's one, I forget her name, but she's got some incredible pieces too. But that dives into more of the surrealist art. So even like, I don't say that I look a lot at Salvador Dali, but like it makes sense. Like all that like feeds into what I do too. I did a Georgia O'Keeffe piece recently. So like a close-up of a flower, and it's funny because I hate painting flowers. Not because I love flowers, but they are so difficult to me, because like I'll do a lot of portraits. I do a lot of portraits, and I don't find them that, like, they're not as challenging to me, I think, because I'm like, there's two eyes, there's a nose, there's a mouth, like, I know what a face looks like, I can paint a face, but like a flower, or even just like landscapes, like, I don't know how people do it, because there's like these leaves here, and then I'm looking at these leaves, and then I'm like, where was I looking? Like, I can't follow it. I can't follow all the organic shapes. But I did the close-up of the leaf, and I loved doing it. So maybe it's just that close-up.
You like doing the close-up of a leaf, but not a flower?
Not a leaf, flower.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
Yeah, I hate painting flowers, but I tried to paint a really close-up of the flower, like in a Georgia O'Keeffe style, and I really loved it. So I'm not sure.
Think you might explore that more?
I'll definitely explore it more. I liked how it came out. Yeah, so I'll probably explore it more. I think there's like an element to it that, well, even with Georgia O'Keeffe, like sometimes they don't even look like flowers, So it becomes more like fleshy almost. Yeah, so I like that. So
I guess, what is the road of success, or what is the road of progression, or the road of activity, or whatever? Like, what are like, I know what it is to be a musician and be like, okay, these are just kind of sort of the steps forward for my career, but what does that look like for a painter trying to like go, like move on to new things?
Yeah. It's hard to say. Especially because I feel like I've just kind of started to. I mean, I haven't. Like, I've been doing it for a little bit. But for me, my road of success is to just keep doing it. Because I think it's very easy to be like, I'm not, like, like, I need a full-time job or something. And so for me, it's really just to keep painting. And I'm very fortunate right now that, like, each year more doors have opened for me, and it's not that like I'm not trying to find the doors. I'm not, like, I am working on painting, but a lot of times when you're in your element, you're not doing all the things to like show your stuff or like display that you are an artist, and because you're literally, you know, like arting, painting or whatever. And so I think as I keep working and painting and creating images, like doors are opening for me. I'm like very lucky that doors have been opening for me. Like people have supported it. So as people support it, I'm just gonna keep working. That sounds terrible because of what people don't support it, but as long as it makes sense for me to keep doing it, I'm gonna keep doing it. So I say there's no like clear line of success for me, but my clear line of success is really just to create and have people like see it, you know.
Yeah.
So no financial success clear in the way I don't see, but you know, but that's what it is for me. It's just keep doing it, and hopefully people enjoy it, and I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the truth.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what'll happen, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think we're in this weird time where it's all about career and it's all about popularity and sales, and like more than anything, it's about numbers and followers and stuff. And it's not, a lot of times it's not truly about craft, and it's not truly about just continuing to practice a skill, practice a craft. And it, you know, to a lot of purists or whatever, you would think it should be. And anyway, I think that as a measurement of success is a reasonable one, and a more healthy one than a lot of us are like subscribing to at this point. I find myself going back and forth with that, of being like, I'm cool with a simple life of doing what I do and doing it locally and doing it like on a normal scale.
Yeah.
Versus, do I want to do it on a national scale, and am I willing to act a certain way to try to do it on a national scale?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's really hard to feel success through everything online. It's hard to judge yourself based on that, because it's easy to judge yourself based on that, and it's not healthy to judge yourself based on that. I definitely do enjoy like creating locally, and just want to keep making body of work to show, to display, and I would love to, you know, branch out wherever to display. I mean, as long as somebody would like to display my work, you know, that's where I'm at. So I don't really need my success isn't measured by being super popular or like getting a lot of attention, which is hard to say too, because it feels good to be like everybody, you know, like people are like, you know, but it's not really about the quantity as much as like the quality. And I feel some quality support out there right now. So
would you rather sell would you rather sell like a design to Target to be mass produced, and you would make, you know, $12 off of any of them that sold, or would you rather sell one painting for like a bunch of money?
I think the one painting. Yeah. Well, because I do create this art that is more of, it's like I make it for like the art walk, and I love making it. It's like line drawings and things like that. But I have this hard thing of like balancing it, of like creating these that like that I do enjoy making them, and like, but also like I know that like my heart is in my paints too. So and making like that like quality painting that can stand on its own, you know. So maybe the Target thing, because like I'd make a lot of the line drawings, which can be really tiring, but I do enjoy it. I enjoy it because it's a really nice break from the paintings. Yeah. Because I love it, I do, but sometimes I don't. So it's nice to have that too. But I know my heart is in my paintings, my oil paintings.
Oil paintings. So that's It's your main medium.
Yeah, oils.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a weird thing about commercialism when it combines with art for some reason, and it's still icky for some reason.
Yeah.
And like everything else is fine, and like the shameless promotion of oneself in social media is fine so long as it's singularly pointed at your own success. But then if for some reason if you are U2 and you partner with Apple to like get people to download your album, or if you're a certain photographer that gets a deal with Target, or if your movie goes to Target, like all these things, when commercialism gets wrapped up in it, all of a sudden it turns icky to us for some reason.
Yeah, I think, well, and I don't know if you find yourself doing this, but, like Target, for example, I love going to Target. Like, I'm not going to lie here.
Yeah.
But, supporting, like local and, like, small businesses. I've really been trying to do that. I've been trying to do that to support, but also, like, environmentally, you know? So yeah, I'm not super into the whole like big company collab sort of things.
Yeah, but it also can get hard. Like I right now am in a place where I'm trying to more like be more selective, but invest in more quality items that cost more money or whatever. I can only do that very, very selectively though. And I can't do it for everything. Like if I, when I need, it depends, I guess. I bought a, I bought a metal spatula probably like 3 years ago. I regret ever buying it.
Yeah.
It was a piece of shit that I got at like Food Lion or somewhere. I would have been better off probably buying a more expensive, more quality one.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like really everyday, ordinary items like that, though.
Yeah. No.
You know what I mean?
It's hard.
Yeah.
Like it's doing it 100% is, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
But it's nice when you can do it.
It is.
Like, okay, well, you know what? I can like, and it's probably going to be more expensive, to do that.
What do you go to Target for?
Oh, I don't go for anything. I just go. No, but my thing right now, I've started with one thing, is to try to not buy clothing at those kinds of places. So I'm trying to do secondhand.
Yeah.
So I'm just starting with that. Everything else, I don't know.
I didn't even know this was a thing necessarily. Like I never thought about the environmental pathway before it.
Yeah.
For all this before. And still I very rarely ever put like an item of clothing in a trash bin. That almost never happens. It's usually going to go to Goodwill or a thrift store or something.
Yeah.
But when I had Max on here from Fancy Groceries from your neck of the woods, that was like, I don't know, he started telling me about sort of the amount of water, the amount of effort it takes to like grow hemp compared to cotton and all this stuff, and how all these clothes end up in the landfill eventually, and how there's all these companies out there now that are recycling denim and recycling other materials.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what kind of movement there was, but he really was the person that put the idea in my head that it's like, not only worth it in the realm of quality and the enjoyment you get from the thing, but also in the realm of the overall picture, to invest in like better quality clothing.
Yeah, no, it's a huge deal. I mean, and it is very hard. There are some sites though. There are some sites that like you could do secondhand, but then like there are some sites really changing. Like even like Levi jeans, they're trying to do something. I look at, this is like my guilty pleasure site, like Reformation. It is so incredibly expensive, so I buy when there's like a 70% off sale, because then it's like normal Target prices, but they are so cool because they'll tell you what you saved, like when you're like, oh, in this purchase you saved how many gallons of water, you saved blah 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 blah, and so you could see that. Now like I hope they're telling, I believe they're telling the truth. They're a pretty big clean site, but that's why they're so expensive too, because it's harder to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with like the world physically falling apart, like I'll stop buying clothes from Target, you know. But it is nicer. There's more of a. I feel. I went to. I love Design Archives downtown.
I do too. Yeah.
That is my store, and I took my mom there because I was like, It was for my gallery opening. I wanted to find a dress there because like obviously like that's how I want to purchase things, and so then afterwards when we got some things, I was like, aren't you so like happy? Doesn't it feel better that you made like a clean decision today? You haven't hurt the world at all.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
It feels better. And that it also gets tricky because it's nice to support loads of people. Mm-hmm. Target employs way more people. Walmart employs way more people than like a small thrift store can.
That's true.
And they have so much shit in place to do that. Like I think, isn't Walmart the number one employer in the country? I think it might be. If it isn't, I apologize. But it does. It employs a lot of people. So you're in this really tough position where it's like Target was made for a reason. It's like somebody behind Target is trying to do something good, and one thing they were trying to do was make clothes more affordable by creating this giant box store and all this stuff. And it's like, you want that to exist. But I personally tend to gravitate more toward liking the experience of being like the person who made this. Like I went to Hudson's Hill this week. Mm-hmm. There's something really cool about going into a place, seeing the leather works shop in the back and being like, damn, like they bought materials, made it here, made it for the purpose of it being like lasting forever, made it and said, if you buy this said a pair of jeans or this jacket here, like bring it back and we'll repair it. Like there's something really cool about supporting that person's vision rather than this just blob of a conglomeration of corporate America or whatever.
I think it might be easier to see as a person trying to pretty much create their own business, like as an artist creating their own business. Right. So you see somebody else doing that and you're like, keep doing it. Like, like I support you.
That's right.
But you are right. Like, it is hard because like all these places like Target and Walmart do make those cheaper clothes from when you like, because not everyone can afford to go on these like really clean sites, which I get too, which is why I usually just buy like secondhand because there you can find definitely like cheap things there too.
Yeah, and it's like, and people with kids, that's like a big one too. It's like people with kids who don't make a ton of money.
So like see what happens, like totally. But like for me personally, like I know like this is a step I can take for the environment, and I feel good with that. I'm
in a similar boat. That's like the shift that I'm making now. So trying to like, and I mean honestly, most clothes I buy, I almost never buy cloths. I usually get given clothes from some way or another, usually by magic. It just happens.
Just shows up on your doorstep.
They just show up in my life. My friends are like, hey, I have a bunch of designer clothes.
Amazing.
It is awesome. It's good. But it's a cool world. And like, I'm just now learning the serious craft that people put into like quality jeans, quality hemp shirts and materials and quality leather shit and just better quality stuff in the world.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole thing too, is just quality. Cause sometimes I like to look for deals, I'm an artist, I don't have money, and a teacher, money's not a thing. So I always like to look for deals, but I will make the exception because I know like, okay, like these jeans are going to last me a lot longer than like going to Forever 21, or something, so. Yeah. So sometimes it is worth it to spend the more money too.
Yeah, back in like 2017 or something, I bought some suits at H&M, and man, they literally were just like ripping at the seams. Yeah, they just fall apart. They just fall apart.
I think they're getting worse too. I mean, I don't know, but like before I started like this new path, I'm like, you know what? This is like, why am I spending $20 when it's gonna be like torn apart in the washing machine?
Yeah. In 2 years, you end up spending $80. Yeah, it's silly.
Yeah. So it's worth it in the long run.
It is worth it in the long run if possible. Yeah. And making things. Do you make anything other than like painting stuff? Do you whatever? Do you
No. No, I would love to, but well, I've tried. I have like all these like unfinished products of like trying to make earrings, trying to do the embroidery. Like I don't know, but like, you know, I paint. I know I can paint, so like that's what I've been sticking with. But I would love to. I say like in another life, which maybe could be just farther down my life. I would love to make clothes. Like I like fashion design. I could watch things on it. I enjoy it. I love old clothes. I love vintage things. So if I knew how to do that, I would also be going down that path.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I don't know how to do that, so I'm not doing that right now.
I'm looking for my thing right now. Like I say, I do music and I feel very at home in that world. I have tried visual art many times. I'm just plainly a bad photographer. I'm a bad painter. Like painting is such a stressful attempt for me, and it doesn't come out good at all.
Yeah.
I like to draw in ink. That's one thing that people occasionally will compliment me for.
Yeah.
Because it has a certain character to it. But aside from that, I mean, visual stuff isn't so much my thing, but I really would love to mess with playing with leather and playing. I mean, even clothing design seems fun. It's just more like I'd rather find what I'm looking for, I think, than actually sit there and do it. But I think I could sit there and play with leather. I would like to do stuff with leather, particularly. I think I'd like to explore maybe making journals, because I use journals so much.
That's cool.
I think I have an idea in my head for what I think of as like the ideal journal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, leather's such a nice, like, tactile thing, too. The feeling of it. I always, like, when I was younger, I wanted to do, like, wood carvings and stuff.
Oh, yeah?
I think those are really cool.
That was part of why because there's a Cuban practice for sculpting wood.
Yeah.
And they use this particular really dark tree. I can't remember what it's called, but it won't grow here. That was like, I was going to like try to grow a tree here and all this stuff. And the tree won't grow here, but there are some gnarly, like real cool Cuban wood carvings.
Yeah, I think those are awesome. I think carvings and sculptings, I could look at them for a while.
So you said you messed with sculpting. Did you mess with carving?
No, and I didn't really do sculpting. I did like clay class, which, you know, like, so we were making pots and stuff. But I just was not my gift, not at all. I had to take a 3D class too, so we would do some wood things, and that was immediately a no, because we had to put put our piece of wood on our table and like clamp it down, you know, and then use like this, I don't even know what it is anymore, but like to cut it. And I started cutting it, and then it started getting really hard, and I was like, it's fine, I got it, and I did it, and it all fell, and like a huge chunk of the table I just cut through the table. So I was like, this is not for me. And I was so scared, because it was like freshman year, so I was still like really like timid, you know. And so I was so scared, I didn't know what to do. I hid the piece in my book bag, and I left. And I emailed my professor later. I was like, I'm so sorry. I still have the wood piece though to today.
Man.
Yeah.
That's great. I didn't expect you to say that at all.
Yeah, no, it's the story, I believe, that I was told that the professor shares it every year. So yeah. And it was funny because, like, as I'm getting to senior year, people started finding out, like, in my classes, they started finding out, oh, you're the, like, woodcut girl.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I just got this epic wood shop class table that was in my grandfather's building for a long time. And I just got it in my basement, and it's massive, but it's so cool. It's just this old woodworking table.
Yeah.
And I've never explored woodworking as an art. I've had to work with wood as a job, but I'm really curious. And I had a carver, like an expert wood carver on here, and I looked at his pieces, and it's just, the things people do with wood are so
Yeah.
like primitive and rough and beautiful and like
Yeah.
like they look like they're just delicious looking. They're so spiritual in some kind of way or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to work with.
Yeah.
I would love to work with that.
I mean, I think the raw element too, like any like connection to nature, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice. Not for me. I am gonna try and make my own frames for my canvases though. So I'll have to hit that path again.
Maybe do it on a metal table.
Yeah.
Or something. I'm not sure.
I'm gonna get some professional help first.
That's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you told that story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. I forget how we got on the subject of you being in wood shop class. Like
You were asking what else I would do besides painting.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you said jewelry and fashion and stuff, but I mean, I get it. You know, art, like oil painting is obviously something you're very good at.
Yeah, well, and then it takes, takes so much of my time, of my life. So I haven't had that opportunity really to explore it because I can't stop painting right now.
Yeah. Did you say that your aunt is a writer?
No, I said my mom is.
Your mom's a writer.
My mom is. No, she's like a closet writer. And one day we hope to make a children's book together, though.
Oh,
so
man.
she can write it and then I'll illustrate it.
That is awesome.
I think I would like that. And it would be like, because she's more in the field, so I couldn't say. But she's always looking at children's books because she's a kindergarten teacher. And she says there's just not as many that she thinks are good for like in the Latin culture. So she wants to make a book based on all her like experiences and her family and stuff. So more so for like for a Hispanic community, for everybody, obviously, but just to bring a little bit more light to stories like that.
Yeah.
So I hope so. She needs more time too, though. So
yeah,
one day down the line.
That would be very cool, though. But I mean, I asked, I asked so that I could ask the side of language. You kind of made a comment as if that you didn't feel like that was one of your strengths. But did you ever mess with writing of any kind? Yeah,
so I do write sometimes. I write like poetry to inspire images to use in my painting. Because sometimes, like I will be so stuck. Sometimes the ideas come and there's a million ideas, and then other times I have no ideas. And so I'll go to writing for that too, because any writing can be really have a lot of imagery, but I find poetry to be easier to flow into that. So I'll write poems just for my paintings. But yeah, and then I love reading it too. Like I made a piece inspired by Amanda Gorman, who was the young poet when Biden was inaugurated. She is incredible. I think she's a year younger than me, and she makes these poems with such imagery, I don't even know, but she's amazing. So I made a piece based off of her, and then sometimes I'll read her stuff or some older stuff too. Yeah.
There is this version of poetry, shapeless, sort of in the realm of chaotic poetry or something that it's void of structure, I guess.
Yeah.
That I cannot access. I've tried and and I can't take it seriously at all. I admire it when I hear it from other people. When you were talking about imagery and when you referred to her, that's what came to mind, is like that version of it. To me, what feels like maybe this is like some sort of almost ideological bias or whatever. Maybe there's a bias that exists in my. Anyway, I think of it as a more like a part of the feminine power or something. This version of this approach to structureless poetry, and I find that I can sit down and I can write structured poetry with zero effort, like with zero thought, with almost zero sort of like fuel for creativity. I can just write them like they're Christmas cards or something. But that other thing I can't do.
Yeah, I don't know that mine would be like that. I think I know what you're talking about.
Are yours
And I've seen
structured or
that.
like?
I feel like they're a little bit more structured.
Gotcha.
And I'll enjoy reading those that are unstructured, but I'm not sure that I completely write like that.
You do like rhyming poetry? Do you do?
It depends. It depends. I do love some rhyming poetry, so I think I try to. Yeah, because I think it's just easier for me to hear it and flow it if it's rhyming, you know?
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm intrigued by that because I don't see people ever do that anymore, honestly.
Yeah. That's why I feel like it's very like almost amateur now to have rhyming poetry, you know. But I do, yeah. I think I tend to do rhyming.
I mean,
only
I like
for like
it.
the flow for me, because sometimes if it is a little bit more abstracted, I miss how the flow goes. I think Amanda Gorman does a good job of having some rhyme, but also some without, yet keeping that rhythm.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the rhythm to it, and
Yeah.
So there are theories of art, as you probably know, that just like whatever, like like the division of masculine and feminine and structure and space and like whatever, like those things, and that's what I mean by that. Like I think of the structured as part of that discipline, and anyway, yeah. So for me, for some reason, I can just kind of write those structured, like syllable based rhyming poems. Same as music, I guess, but music obviously has more dimensions to it, so it takes more effort. But the poetry I can write almost with my eyes closed, you know, or with zero effort at all.
Well, and I think that's happening with music too. It's less like grimy, if that makes sense. You know, like I think like I don't know, like used to be, but I feel like whenever I would think of music, like each line would kind of like, you know, flow with into the next, but it's a lot more abstracted now.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
Especially in different forms of it, like in the more rhythm based ones.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
What kind of music are you into?
Oh, I don't know. I'm into a lot of things. I love to listen to music. I'll listen to pretty much anything. But I used to say that part of why I went to the arts as a major was because I hated those days that I was taking like super academic classes and like you were studying, or you know, I love to read, but like even like if you're reading, like you can't hear, like I can't really play music if I'm doing that. But when I would do my arts class, I could listen to music, and like for me that was so important. Like I needed to be able to hear music all the time. But yeah, I can't tell you what I listen to. It would be anything.
You like a lot of variety?
Yeah, I like a lot of variety.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Same. I don't listen to music as much as I used to. It's not as important to me for some reason these days to like keep up with whatever the most recent releases are. Like I'm different from that for some reason now.
well, and I mean there's some really great things going on now, but I'm not as into it. I feel like things being released now are being released so quickly and with such, this is just my personal view, but not as much effort, you know, like you feel like they didn't like put like a lot of effort into the song because maybe they knew it would be like a hit or something and just make a lot of money.
That's so true.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't really gotten a lot of music that's popular, like, you know, that you feel like, wow, like this took a lot of time, effort, soul, but that could just be what is getting played that I'm hearing.
I think, you know, right when you walked in, we were talking a little bit about some of that stuff, like where we are in the world, and I think that is a symptom, seriously, of what, like the level that the impact that social media has had on the purity of art forms. And it's not like it has to be one way or another, you know, like everything we know now, everything we knew 50 years ago came about as a part of modernity at its time. You know, that didn't used to be possible. And then it was. Somebody, like, if in the grand scope of things, you could have a conversation with Mozart and be like, yeah, like people can record piece of music that they just record with like 2 instruments and release it to everyone, and he'd be like, that's atrocious. Like it takes years to compose music and then to teach it to a symphony. It's things evolve, and I'm cool with them evolving, but it is a little bit like boring when people just can be like, simple, like, here, I just churned out a simple idea and like made it with my computer, and like there's this weird fourth wall breaking thing. And now, oh God, there's this fourth wall breaking thing where you just sort of, we're, you know, talking about TikTok too. And it's like, it's very common for people to use TikTok to be like, reveal how they do things. And so there's no mystery really much about when you experience a piece of music. And sometimes that's a bummer. I really love music like that sometimes when I listen to it, I think like, I don't really know how they made this. Like it's so, there's sounds going on that I don't understand. And then lastly, sorry to punctuate, now there's a thing where you just so obviously use social media to engage people in what you're doing, which is a lie. Like what you're showing to people is, on TikTok you can duet me, or you can reply to me. So what we're gonna do is play the audio from my track with the vocals and stuff in it that I own the audio to. I'm going to point to you when it's your turn to sing. What you're actually doing, though, is just circulating your audio content. It's just like a lie. It's just a manipulation of the game to create the sensation that you're like including people in what you're doing, but actually what you're doing is charging up your numbers.
Well, the other thing that I've thought too is that sometimes it feels like some of these new songs coming out are created for like their TikTok sounds almost. And so I'm like, well, did you just want people to use like 10 seconds of this song? Is that like and I mean, again, I could be wrong, but yeah, it feels like we're creating for more of that cycle. And the mystery too, like that's what like with my art, I have a really hard time, like if each piece for me, I have my own like personal view of what it is and what's the story, but I personally don't really like to share that because I don't want to take away that mystery of what it means to you or what you think is going on. I mean, I do, like, I love to have a dialogue about it, but it's also hard to have that fine line of like not oversharing it because you want it to be everyone else. Like you want it, it's not just mine anymore. Like when I put it in the world, it's yours, it's everyone's, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yes, I've had a few people in that seat talk about that very thing and how they like to maintain that. And I like to maintain that to a degree. I have failed at maintaining that sometimes. I think I've felt a pressure sometimes to do the opposite, but really I'd prefer to do that. I'd prefer to keep at least some level of distance, even if I let them in a little.
Yeah,
you know?
It's hard to keep it fully, especially because people are curious. Like, I'd be curious about other people's things.
When I was like 17, I remember memories of playing songs for like my sister and her husband and stuff. And for me, I felt this need to explain the genius of all of it. Like, I feel like revealing all that is almost actually like an immature thing. I feel like it's this weird thing where you're trying to control the way people perceive it instead of just like releasing it to be perceived as it will be. I think there's a maturity about letting it be perceived as it will be. Yeah,
because it could put it in a box. That like reminds me of what I was trying to explain too with the pre-K is that we, like, if they ask like, oh, how does a flower grow? I don't tell them. We talk about it. They have ideas, but then we see their friends' ideas. Like recently, they were talking about gravity. No, I'm not going to explain gravity to them, not because they can't handle it. I mean, they can, but their ideas were so vast. And so, like, it's not about gravity at this point. It's about the fact that they're thinking beyond any sort of box of an answer.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why we don't specifically tell them, oh, well, this is gravity. This is how a plant grows. is because they're having their ideas, their friends are having their ideas, they're collaborating, creating new ideas, and that's what we're trying to do, you know. It's not about an answer, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I don't like what we're doing. Like, I think at least in previous forms of the progression of music, there's a fascinating TED Talk out there about the evolution of music and about how it arguably the way that we construct music has changed with where we consume it. So back when people mostly consumed music in cathedrals, music was like, it was like these long notes that did a really good job of traveling in these spaces and echoing. And over time that shifted to where now it's like the frequencies that you hear in your car is basically a lot of treble and a lot of bass. And so that's what songs really are now. It's like a lot of bass and a lot of all the other stuff goes right there on top, like just above the middle.
Yeah.
Frequency wise. All of that is probably true. And it's and what I think I noticed is the difference is that all of that consisted of people listening to music, people being on the receiving end of music. Now it's like that isn't the point. It isn't the point about receiving the work. The point is the point is racking up currency associated with the work. And so people, like what we were talking about, like if what they're actually doing is secretly circulating basically a barcode that's associated with their song, the work isn't being received. The work is just being circulated as if it is a form of money. I kind of don't want to participate in that.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
So but I don't really know what to do because that seems to be the way the industry is shifting.
Well, yeah, it's huge like that. I think it's hard for smaller artists and people creating when they're not doing that, because then you're just going to get swallowed up by the people who are doing that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just frustrating, but I don't know how.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the golden age ran out in like 2015. I feel like if you were an artist, if you were like doing big things before then, you're probably really happy right now. But that's like, I don't know. Shit just feels weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's still space. I mean, there's still space to create. But when you're going into those worlds.
Fair. Yes.
Yeah.
I guess that comment really applies more to like the national and international levels of the industry.
Yeah.
And that's not really fair because like in our community, all sorts of cool things are happening.
Yeah.
They're like just now starting to flower, I feel like. And I think that's really great, you know.
I agree. Yeah. But yeah, it definitely can be frustrating when you go into the world beyond and it's just, you don't know how to live it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up, why don't you, if you will, tell me about this show that you recently did this month and whatever else you might want to tell me about that.
Yeah, so I opened a show. It's my first solo show, so I feel really great about that. The body of work can be seen at a house in Old Salem called Mansion on Main. It has an Instagram too, and it's all by appointment right now to see the work. But yeah, I'm really proud of this body of work. There's a lot of empowering images, like we've talked about, and it'll be up through the holidays. So yeah, we opened it October 7th, I think. It was a lovely night. It was a lovely opening. So I hope to just keep showing it because I'm proud of it. And yeah, I have now I'm creating for the Ardmore Art Walk, which is so fun. Which is like the first week in November.
When is that?
First weekend in November. I think it's November 4th or 5th. It's a Saturday. I'm currently still creating. See, I was on creating for the solo show, and instead of a break like I normally give myself, now I'm still going. So that'll be my next thing, and then after that, I'll keep working on my next body of work, which in my head is gonna be like some female images that people misread. I'm excited about it. I only have one piece in my head right now, but I know that it will trickle out. So whatever that is will be next.
I have to just ask one question real quick.
Yeah.
When you are going into a work like this, do you have a finished piece in your head, or just what does that look like?
Yeah, so like for that next body, I'm starting with one piece that I got an idea for, and I have the finished work in my head right now, but I still have to like take my reference images for it. So in my head it's something, but how it's gonna like physically come out, I'm not sure. But the idea is there, it's ready to be made, and then hopefully once that one's made, it'll bleed into another one to make it a full body.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was just curious about that.
Yeah.
Well, Hannah, thank you for like whatever having this all over the place conversation with me. We
lots of things.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of things. Well, I look forward to. I hope I get to see some of your work in person before too long.
Yeah, that would be great.
Maybe I'll try to catch you at the art walk. I wish. So I think this podcast will come out like the day after that, and I've had this. Yeah. I've been having this horrible habit of that. I've been like catching people right as something monumental is going on, and then barely missing it.
No, that's okay. I mean, the gallery stuff is really important to me, so that's gonna be up.
Cool.
Through the holidays, so that's
good.
Yeah.
Well, whatever I can do to help, I probably can't do much more than you can do, but we'll see. For the podcast, we'll still at least put some stuff out there. So.
Yeah, every little bit helps. I think. Yeah.
Cool. Well, all right. I guess we'll call it a day, but thank you again.
Thank you. Yeah. So fun. Okay.